You are listening to the So Now What podcast with Lana Manikowski, episode number 133.
So now what? These three words raced through my mind time and time again during my journey through fertility treatments. I tried desperately to have a child, but never was able. I yearned for a community to join that could understand my struggles. I couldn't find one, so I created one with the So Now What podcast. I love that you found us.
I'm so glad that you are here with me for another beautiful week in this life of ours that might seem a little challenging to navigate at times. But I'm hoping after today's episode, you might open yourself up to a new way of thinking about your purpose. Before I get into that, I just launched one of the most valuable resources you'll ever use if you have struggled with navigating conversations with people about you not having kids. Maybe it's the people that love to tell you their opinions and the things that you should try. Maybe it's finding ways to respond to what people say when you are the childless one in the group. So if you're interested in getting that resource, you can go to Instagram, lana.manikowski, send me a DM or send me an email at hi@lanamanikowski.com, and I will be sure to share that resource with you. So let's talk this week about purpose. Like the word purpose, it's this thing that everybody I feel like chases, like creating your purpose, living this purpose-driven life, being able to know exactly when you wake up every day what your purpose is. And I'm going to tell you, I think it's a bunch of BS. Yes, you heard that right. I think that we have been handed the heavy, almost like burdensome task of finding your purpose. And many of us, maybe you agree with this, have been raised to believe that having a child is what creates your purpose as a woman. And for some people, maybe that is true. But when you end up like me and possibly like you as somebody who is navigating a life after infertility and wanting to figure out what your purpose is, if motherhood is not the answer, it can feel as though you're flailing, not failing, but flailing, kind of waving your arms in the air, just trying to figure out what is the thing that is worthy enough to attach the word purpose to, because we're wanting to pick the right thing. We're wanting to find something that feels really good and feels really meaningful. But sometimes it just seems like everything that you're looking around at in your life doesn't feel worthy enough of that badge of being your purpose. I'm going to start by saying I have a very unique perspective on what purpose is. And it has come with years of research. It has come with the work that I have done in my community and the women that I have worked with in my community in creating their purpose and finding what their purpose is, and also understanding the grief that you have been through as a woman who is unexpectedly childless. So when I talk about purpose, in my definition of purpose, it might be something that you have never even heard someone talk about before. And that's why I love what I do. And that's why so many lives are changed when women hear about the different ways that they can perceive their life and perceive this path that they are unexpectedly on through childlessness. So let me first start by telling you that if you're listening to this episode and you're like, oh my gosh, like this woman might be onto something, this is the type of work that we do in Thrive After Infertility. And the mastermind is going to launch on October 1st. So if you're listening to this and you're like, I need to figure out how to get in on doing this type of work, Thrive After Infertility is going to be the perfect opportunity for you, because you hear me talk every week, say 10, 15 minutes max. But when you're actually in the Thrive After Infertility Mastermind, that's when you get to roll up your sleeves, dream about the future that you want to have, and learn how to fall in love with your life. And it all starts with realizing that everyone does not have a singular purpose. I know that there are people out there who think that there is one thing that you use to define yourself and define why you get your feet out of bed and on the floor every day. And I just don't believe it. I believe that purpose is much easier. Your purpose and creating your purpose is so freaking easy, but nobody talks about it. Nobody teaches you the fact that purpose doesn't come from you selecting something. Purpose comes from you being a version of yourself that you feel connected to. And that is extremely hard to create sometimes when you feel so disconnected from the way that your life has ended up. But purpose comes to me in many different forms. Purpose isn't something that I rattle off when somebody says, "Oh, tell me about your purpose." I don't think that I can tell you one singular thing that is an overarching mission statement of my purpose. I find my purpose by being connected to who I am as an individual. And when I feel in alignment with myself, and when I look in the mirror and I have compassion to the story and the journey that I have been on, I am creating purpose by being further connected to myself. If you've never heard me talk about purpose, you might scratch your head a little bit right now and be like, oh, I'm not sure that I get this. I understand. You are not alone. But let me tell you, if you put your arms around this way of creating your purpose and defining purpose in your life, you are going to create so much more ease for yourself, so much more pride when you look in the mirror because you are not constantly trying to chase after something that has been pre identified. When you wake up and show up as the person that you truly are, the person who has this loving spirit, the person that has good feelings towards themselves, the person who is proud of themselves and moves forward in their life, searching for expansiveness instead of feeling closed off forever because life turned out so differently than you thought it would, your purpose is just magically created. Your purpose is more so about what people create with who you are in their lives, the way that you touch lives, the way that you show up for a neighbor, the way that you teach someone something new, the way that you do your job, the way that you are a contributor in your family or in your marriage. All those things are purpose. That is a purpose driven life, not picking one thing and dressing about whether it's monumental enough or wondering if it's meaningful enough to attach your name to that said purpose gets really hard. But when you show up as somebody who feels easy about life, who feels proud of the person that you are, who has the courage to lift yourself up when you've had a bad day and still show up and do things for yourself that create happiness in yourself, then you go on to create purpose in the lives of others. This came to me, it's been something I talked way back. I want to say it was maybe like episode 49 of the podcast where I first talked about purpose. But I was recently at a funeral, and it was the funeral for my music teacher, the woman in sixth, seventh, and eighth grade. I had a musical background. I played piano since I was probably 7 years old. I come from a very musical family. Singing and song and the arts are very much part of our family and kind of a big foundation for our family. But being in Mrs. Andra's, class, sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, being in choir, being a performer in bell choir, in our show choir, really created this purpose that this woman had in my life back in sixth, seventh, and eighth grade. So when I think of her, I have this defined purpose for who she was in my life. Okay. So it was her funeral. She passed away. It was very unexpected, very sudden. She and I kept in touch on Facebook. It wasn't like I would see her regularly, but I wanted to go to her funeral because I wanted to show up and recognize the purpose that she created in my life and the moments of confidence that I gained from those times all those years ago. If I was performing in front of a group or if I was singing in front of strangers or performing at our shopping malls during the holiday season, there's so much confidence that I was able to gather from those experiences, understanding of music, different music theories, harmonies, chords, all these things that she taught me. I could go on and on and on. But at her funeral, there were people that got up and talked about how she touched their lives. I could not relate to the way that she touched somebody else's life. I could not necessarily relate to some of the stories that they told about her. So she created different purposes with her life through the way that she connected with others. And it made me realize we need to talk about this more because I know that you are probably carrying around this heavy burden of believing that your life is lacking of purpose because you couldn't become a mom. Now, this woman happened to be a mom, but the purpose that she played in the life of her daughter or in the life of her grandsons was much different than the purpose that she was creating in my life. That's what made me really feel motivated to talk about this to you this week because there is so much undue stress that we are creating with ourselves and for ourselves because we are feeling as though our life is lacking purpose. Think about this week. And if this is some of the work that you want to do, I invite you to think about joining Thrive After Infertility. The 12-week program and the work that we do together in Thrive is hands down some of the most transformative work that you will create as you are embarking on this journey to creating a life you love, even though it turned out so differently than you thought it would. I'm so proud of the concepts that I teach, not because I think that I am the only person in the world who has any brilliance, but I'm going to tell you that there are so many women who are not presented opportunities when they finish their fertility treatments and end up not becoming moms. They are not presented opportunities to learn the things that I have learned in my life coaching journey. And that is why I became a certified life coach because it is such an underserved community. And there are so many things that we were left to figure out on our own. It shouldn't be that hard. We shouldn't be these lost women in society who are left stuck trying to pick up the pieces of their life. So in Thrive After Infertility, I offer women an opportunity to create the life that they love, not the life I love. Yes, there's things that might motivate people about the way I live my life, but truly what I do in Thrive is help you create the life that you want to have and the life that you want to fall back in love with and feel proud of and feel free of all this burden that you've been carrying around since you found out that you couldn't become a mom. So I hope you know how much purpose you have in your life and the purpose that can continue to grow way beyond one singular thing if you allow yourself to open up to believing that you can feel connected to yourself again and live a life that feels free and feels easy and then transforms into purpose in so many different ways. So I hope that you have a beautiful week. I love you and remember that it's never too late to discover your meaning. I'll talk to you next week.